Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Rizca Aulia. Today I would like to make a presentation. My material is about experiences of Japanese university students willingness to speak English in class. Immutable case study. Okay, for the first step is abstract. English as foreign language (EFL) in Japan is becoming mandatory subject in our auxiliary educational system. The average Japanese students will study EFL for at least 8 years. Yet despite this period of time, Japanese continually score low on international English tests using a qualitative descriptive multi-focus study method. The willingness to communicate in a Japanese university setting was researched. The research revealed that although the prior experience with learning English has been mostly positive, students believe that the grammar-based learning has not been helpful in developing oral communication competency, and what would help is an earlier start to oral English communication. Okay, next is about introduction. According to Japanese educational policy, students are required to start English language instruction in the 5th grade. Students must study English for a minimum of 8 years before they enter university. Yet, despite several years of enrollment in oral communication classes, many students continue to hesitate to communicate in English in university classroom. Next is about research question. I have two research questions. For the first research question, what are Japanese university students' experiences with oral communication in English communication classes? And for the second research question, how do Japanese university students describe the influence of their experiences with oral communication in English communication classes on their WTC in these classes? Next is about literature review. There are several methods in literature review. For the first is current Japanese research on WTC. Untuk much Japanese research start with Yasimas. Research with Japanese students' international posture. Current researchers focus on WTC and the factors that influence students' oral English discourse. Next, grammar-focused learning. A combination of grammar-focused learning and communicative speaking exercise are arguably the best approach to learning a language. However, the grammar translation method of instruction common in the current Japanese education is finding relevant research with Japanese high school students by Kikuchi and Broad. Next is factors that affect WTC. The main factors that affect WTC that researchers are describing are learner beliefs. However, most of the studies were conducted via quantitative research and without actual students' voice. Still needed is a discussion with actual students' voice about pure English learning reasons and how better to improve our English instructions. And next is about early start to English learning. Learning a new language takes many years of practice, so getting an early start will definitely help later in life. However, there is some debate as to when is the best time to start learning a foreign language. Next is about methodology. There are several methods in methodology. For the first is calculation. The purposeful sample was chosen from a private university in southern Japan to establish a manageable scope of the study. The criteria for selecting this university was based on three basic considerations. Next is about sample. A non-random constraint sample for this case study research was used to observe and ask 12 Japanese university students their experience in speaking English class. Next is about materials or instruments. The research instruments that were used on this single site were an initial WTCQ 61-HR in class observation, and 216 min symmetric interviews for each participant. Data collection, profession, and analysis. Before the study started, an initial questionnaire was used to obtain a purposeful sample. After the participants were selected and had signed consent forms, two individual interviews with each student participant were scheduled. Data were analyzed by means of an inductive reasoning process. The level of WTC in English was examined without their experience in exploratory non-judgmental discovery so that question of the study could be addressed. Also, the data were clustering and grouping important statements into mini groups were then used to help understand the experience of Japanese university students with disabilities. Okay, the results indicate that current university oral English courses are not what students believe were necessary for learning English. Many students said that they believe actual communication is important and not memory intensive instructions. This was similar to results from the literature review, where research reported that only 6% of students in their study believe that prior English language restriction aided in oral communication ability. Okay, the last is about conclusion. The current research clearly indicates that the WTC for Japanese university students has been greatly influenced by prior oral English communication experience before starting this study. Several studies in the past of 5 years relate to the Japanese WTC in university were verified. Finally, the student interviews and classroom observation were available in understanding the capacity students WTC. Okay, thank you from me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.